So tonight we've got a live streaming class. It's Monday, January 30th, and let's get started. So first thing you need to do is get up off the couch, get up off the chair. If you don't have a yoga mat, that's not an excuse. I can't do yoga because I don't have the yoga mat or whatever. You can do it right on your carpet, whatever's going to work good. So I thought we'd get started with some warm-ups today. So the feet are going to be close together, really, really close together. Bring the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers. And keep the legs locked out straight. Take a deep breath in, lengthen up, and then as you exhale, lean over toward the right-hand side for a side stretch. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. So we'll hold it here for a couple more breaths. Think about your breathing. Think about how your body feels in this pose. And then come back to center. So again, the legs are going to stay straight. You'll lean over toward the left-hand side for side stretch and begin that deeper breathing. As long as you're not congested, you're going to breathe in and out through the nose. Being congested doesn't get you out of doing yoga. You can breathe in and out through your mouth, right? Watch. I can do it like that too, right? So no excuses. And then come back to center. A deep inhale. Exhale, let the arms float down alongside the body. From here, tighten up your thigh muscles. Tighten up your glutes. Squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other. And take another deep breath in. Deep breath out. I'll let everything relax. Take your feet about a foot apart now. Bend your knees and keep your knees bent. Interlace your fingers and press the palms up toward the ceiling. Good. So the knees are staying bent. Lengthen up through the arms and then keep the knees bent. I don't know if I mentioned that. Lean over toward the right-hand side. Both knees are bent. So it's a side stretch with the feet apart and the knees bent. A little bit different than the last one we just did. Now, in your mind, think about where the top of your right hip is and try to draw the top of your right hip up, keeping the knees bent. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Back to center. Knees are still bent now. Lengthen up through the arms. Lean over toward the left-hand side, keeping the knees bent, drawing the breath deep into the body. And then think about where the top of your left hip is and try to draw the top of your left hip up for a little bit deeper stretch. Then come back to center. Inhale, straighten the legs. Exhale, let the arms float down alongside the body. Take a deep inhale. Deep exhale. Good. Now we'll keep the legs straight. Draw the left arm up. Firm up the thighs. Begin to slide the right hand down the outside of the right leg and lean over toward the right for side stretch. So you keep those legs straight. You can actually relax or push your hips to the left as you lean over toward the right and breathe deep. And as you begin to breathe deep here, we'll activate this pose on a little bit deeper level. Think about pressing your left heel or left foot into the floor and then lengthening through the left fingers in the opposite direction. So you're really stretching the entire, or trying to stretch the entire left-hand side of the body. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release. And then we'll switch sides. Right arm comes up. Legs are straight. Firm up the thighs a little bit. Inhale and reach. And then as you exhale, you lean over toward the left-hand side. So the hips are moving toward the right. There's no bend in the knee for this particular one. And then you begin your deeper breathing. Think about length through the entire right-hand side of the body. So press the right heel or the right foot into the floor with a little more effort. And stretch the right fingers in the opposite direction with a little more effort. Breathe deep. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release the arms. Bring the feet together again. So you'll firm up the thighs, firm up the glutes, squeeze the glutes, draw the shoulder blades toward each other, and take a couple more deep breaths. And then let everything relax. Now the feet come wide apart, whatever wide apart is for you. 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. And then take a look at the feet and they're parallel. So the toes are not pointed out, they're pointed straight ahead or in a little bit. Straighten the legs and firm up the thighs. Bring the left arm out to the left-hand side, palm face up. Take an inhale. As you exhale, lean over toward the right. So slide the right hand down the outside of the right leg and the left arm up and over into a side stretch here. Double check your toes now. If the toes have begun to, especially the right toes in this case, have begun to point out toward the right, point them back in or point them straight ahead. And then you'll press the left foot into the floor, stretch the left fingers in the opposite direction. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale. Legs are straight, thighs are engaged. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release. Take it right over to the other side. Right arm out to the right. Inhale. Exhale, slide the left hand down. Right arm comes up and over into a side stretch. Think about building the pose from the base up, from the foundation. Check the feet. The feet are flat. Toes are pointing straight ahead. Legs are straight. Thighs are engaged. And then you're really reaching or stretching through the entire right-hand side of the body. Take a deep inhale. Deep exhale. Inhale, come up. And exhale, step the feet back together. So actually just bring the feet about a foot apart. Relax the arms. Close your eyes for a moment. And draw your mind's attention or your awareness to your breath. Notice the breath. Take a longer, slower inhale. Longer, slower exhale. And then open the eyes up. Now go ahead and interlace your fingers. Stretch the arms way out in front of you so the wrists are apart. And then you're going to inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands come down. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands come down. Good. So you keep doing that at your own pace, connecting movement with breath. And as it's comfortable, you'll gently push the hands away from the body as you're coming up and down. So you carry that stretch all the way up the arms into the shoulders and maybe even into some of the muscles in the upper back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then release. Take a big breath in. Hold the breath inside. Sip a little bit more air in. Hold it. Exhale, relax. Good. Now, interlace the fingers again. This time, instead of bringing the hands way out in front, bring them about halfway. So they're about 12 inches from your sternum. And then from here, you're going to move side to side with the arms, nice and easy. Three more, two more, one more, release. Separate the feet a little bit further apart. Now you can point the toes out just a tiny bit. Bring the arms up overhead. Inhale here. And as you exhale, bend the knees and sink the seat down and back. And then inhale, come up. Exhale, come down. Inhale. Exhale. Now as you do this, drop your gaze down and keep an eye on your knees. So if you notice that your knees begin to buckle in toward each other, or maybe buckle out away from each other, don't allow them to do that. Try to keep them the same distance apart as your ankles and heels. And if you want to make this a little more interesting, just bring the tips of your toes up off the ground so the feet are a little bit more active. To do three more, and two more, and one more, and arms come up, float the arms down. Good. Go ahead and close the eyes again. Allow your shoulders to relax. Bring your attention to your breath. Long, slow inhale, followed by a long, slow exhale. Good. And then go ahead and open your eyes. Shake out your arms a little bit. Bend your knees a couple of times. So I'd like to take a look at a bunch of poses today. I've got at least 6 or 8 of them in my head. But the first one, we'll do some variations of Warrior One. So I come toward the top of my mat, and my feet are separated about 12 to 15 inches apart. And I'm going to step the right foot back. So that right foot, that back foot's at about a 45-degree angle. Then go ahead and bend your left knee. Good. Both feet are flat. And then firm up the right thigh muscle. So you're using the power and strength of the right thigh to actively press down into that right foot. And then you bring the arms up overhead. Right? So if you've got shoulder issues, right? Let's say you've just had surgery on your right shoulder, like in the past 6 months or a year or maybe even longer, and it's still bothering you, then your Warrior One maybe looks like this. Right? You bring your hands to your hips. So you focus on the base, the foundation of the pose. Right? Otherwise, hands are up here. Good. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, step forward. Now, we'll do the other side. Step the left foot back, bend into the right knee, arms come up overhead, or hands come here. Good. So think about the foundation. Both feet are flat, and that left thigh is engaged, and you're using the left thigh to press the left foot into the floor. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then we'll step forward and release. Good. So one of the questions here is, what is the alignment of the feet from front to back? So let's try it again on the right side. Step the right foot back, bend into the left knee. So as you drop your head and look back at that right foot, you want the right foot over to the right-hand side of the mat a little bit, and the left foot over to the left-hand side of the mat. You don't want to have the feet on a tightrope here for Warrior One. Good. So this will allow the hips to turn toward the front of the mat. So firm up that right thigh again, and then keep the right thigh firm and bend into the left knee a little bit more. And then you're going to bring the arms up overhead. We're going to do this probably 3 times tonight. So this variation here, interlace your fingers. Right? And once you've got your fingers interlaced, you can bend your elbows a little bit. Keep that right leg straight. Keep that right thigh engaged. And then from here, you can draw the arms back a little bit, get a little bit of a deeper stretch, and then maybe straighten the arms a little bit more. Deep inhale, deep exhale, and then release, and step the right foot forward. Left side, once again, left foot steps back, bend into the right knee. So you look back at that left foot, the left foot's out to the left, the right foot's out to the right, left thigh is engaged. Interlace the fingers and bring the arms up overhead. Once you're here and you're not wobbly, the hips are turning toward the front of your mat, toward that right knee. The left leg is nice and strong and straight. Bend the elbows, draw the arms back a little bit if that's comfortable. And then if you still have a little bit further to go, you can begin to straighten the arms. Remember, if you have shoulder issues, just focus on this. Right? We're stretching the legs, we're stretching the lower half of the body. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, step forward. So we're going to try that one more time, and I'm going to add something into it. And the reason to add something into it is to a number of reasons. Make it a little bit more interesting. Challenge our balance a little bit. So it's going to challenge our balance a little bit. And then we're going to need to think about, or today we're going to need to think about, making the transition from Warrior One into the balance, and then from the balance back into Warrior One. So the transition back and forth. So don't take a really long stance with the feet. We'll begin, again, feet about 10 to 15 inches apart. Right foot steps back. Bend into the left knee. Arms come up into Warrior One and interlace those fingers again. Good. Now from here, you're going to lean forward, float that right foot up off the ground. Bring the right knee up out in front and grab the right knee with the hands. So now you're in a balance pose. I tricked you. You weren't expecting this. And you're not expecting what's coming next either. Right? So from here, you're going to release that right foot and float it back into Warrior One. Arms come back up. Good. Let's try it again. Float the right leg forward. Now if you're comfortable here, you can take the right leg and bring it right up behind your head. But maybe you just want to focus on the balance here right now. From here, grab the right ankle with the right hand and we'll come into tall dancer pose. So stretch the left fingers up, draw the shoulder blades toward each other, push the right knee and right foot back, and then draw the right heel toward the right buttocks and breathe. And then slowly release. Good. Let's try it on the other side. Feet are separated, left foot steps back, bend into the right knee. Arms come up. And then interlace the fingers. And then you're going to come forward, bring the left leg forward, grab a hold of the left knee and shin for balance pose. Concentrate. And then the smooth transition back. Release the leg, float the right foot back into Warrior One. And then we're going to float forward again. Left leg comes forward again. Bring it up. So focus your eyes somewhere, a steady gaze, in order to help you in the balance pose. And then from here, we'll take tall dancer again. So left hand grabs the left ankle, right fingers up toward the ceiling. Stretch up through the right finger, squeeze the shoulder blades toward each other. Push the left knee back, and then draw the left heel toward the left buttocks. And breathe deep. And then release. Good. Close your eyes one more time. Take a long, slow inhale. Long, slow exhale. And then open the eyes up. Next, we'll take a look at Warrior Two, and then we'll have some fun with Warrior Two, moving back and forth into a couple other poses. So I'm going to begin with the feet wide apart. And then take your right toes and your left toes, left toes and turn them toward the end of the mat. Left toes this way, right toes toward me. Once you've got the knee set up, the left knee set up right over the ankle, arms come up and palms come up. Good. So once you get into position here, check that right arm to make sure that's parallel to the floor, just like the left arm. Good. Inhale, straighten your left leg. Take the left hand out and down onto the left shin and the right fingers up toward the ceiling. Press down into the soles of both the feet. Now from here, take your right hand to your right hip. Good. Begin to bend into that left knee and bring the left fingertips to the floor and float the right leg up off the ground. So even if it only comes up off the ground a couple inches, just go ahead and stay there. If you can bring it up a little bit more, go ahead and do that. And then begin to straighten out the left leg. The entire time you're looking down at the floor for balance. Then begin to press out through your right heel, engage the right thigh, and try to take the right hip up and over the left hip. If you have further to go, you can stretch the right fingers up. Now comes the challenging part. We're going to float back into Warrior Two. So magically, you float back into Warrior Two. Palms face up. Left knee is aligned over the left ankle. Check the back arm. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Bring your hands to your hips and we'll release out of the pose. And then pivot the feet in the opposite direction. We'll do the pose on the other side. So the left toes are toward me, right toes toward the end of the mat. Bend into the right knee. And then arms come up parallel to the floor. Palms face up. Check the back arm, check the left arm. So that's parallel to the floor just like the right arm. Hold the pose, but don't hold your breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale, straighten the right leg. Bring the right hand out and down onto the right shin. Take the left finger straight up. So be mindful of not collapsing forward. The idea is not to get the right hand in this case, or the right fingers down to the floor. The idea is what I'm doing right now. Have a nice strong foundation with the pose so that the upper body floats. Right? And then left hand to left hip. Look down, bend into the right knee, float the right fingers down to the floor, float the left leg up off the ground. A little bit right here, or if you have further to go, you go a little bit further. Press out through the left heel, straighten out the right leg as best you can, firm up the left thigh. Then the left hip comes up and over the right hip, or it moves in that direction. And then float back into Warrior Two. Check the alignment of the right knee. Palms face up, check the alignment of the back arm, and then refocus your attention on your breath. And then release the hands to the hips and step the feet back toward each other. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. So next we're going to move down onto the floor, and I thought we would take a look at side plank. So the side plank is one of those poses that you can get caught off guard in yoga class. If they're doing some flows and they're doing some vinyasas and you end up in a high push-up, I'll demonstrate. You end up in a high push-up and the instructor says, bring your feet together and drop your heels to the left and your right arm up. And so if you're not used to this or you don't have the core strength, it looks something like this, right? So we're going to take it in steps today and show you how to do some modifications for that. Good? So the first thing you want to do is come down onto your hands and knees. Locate your left foot by tapping it on the floor. Let's hear it. Good. And then take your left foot only out to the left like a kickstand on a bicycle. And then straighten out your right leg. So before you go any further here, the alignment is the left wrist lines up with the left knee, lines up with the right ankle. So that's all in one straight line. And that right foot is flat on the floor. Good. And then stretch the right fingers up. From here, you can firm up your right thigh, keep that nice and engaged, and you can even begin to engage the abdominal muscles a little bit. And then release the right hand down to the floor, release the right knee down to the floor. Locate the right foot by tapping it, and then move the right foot only out to the right, straighten out the left leg, and then check your alignment. Right wrist, right knee, left ankle, all in one perfectly straight line, and then the left arm comes up. Firm up the left thigh, tighten up the abdominal muscles, and breathe deep. And then you're going to release down, and we'll sit back toward the heels. So there's a modification for side plank that you can use if you find yourself not being able to do the full variation of the pose, right? Modifications come into play here quite a bit in yoga classes. So next, let's try full side plank and see what happens. So you got to play along with me now. I'm going to move into a high push-up, and the feet are together, and the cue is to drop the heels to the left and bring the right arm up. So this is what it looks like. So if you're, and you stack the right foot on top of the left foot. So if you're unable to do this and you're still doing the modification with the knee on the floor, the question is, go ahead and come down. How do we get from doing the modification to the full pose? I'm glad you asked that question. We've got to do some more core strengthening work here, right? And also for the shoulders here. So that's coming up in a couple of minutes. We're going to do a couple other poses that will help strengthen the core muscles and the shoulder muscles, so that full side plank at some point becomes doable and it becomes comfortable. So let's try it again. This time we'll try it on the opposite side. Feet are together, legs are straight. You're going to drop your heels to the right and your left arm straight up. You're pushing your hips away from the floor, stacking the left foot on top of the right foot, and then maybe bringing the left fingers up toward the ceiling. And then you're going to release, drop to the knees, and sit back toward the heels. Good. Let's try it one more time. And this time it's up to you. You can try the modification with the knee on the floor, or you can try the full pose. So it's either this with the right leg straight and the right arm up, or both legs straight and you push the hips away from the floor. Activate the feet so the right foot's stacked on top of the left foot. And then when you're ready to switch sides, go ahead and drop and take whatever variation you took on the other side. And then go ahead and release. Separate your knees wide apart, bring your big toes toward each other, and sink back toward child's pose and relax for a moment. Good, and then go ahead and come up onto the hands and knees. So I talked about doing a little prep work or a little homework to get toward that full version of side plank. So there's a couple things we can do here. The first one is going to be forearm plank, everybody's favorite. So we'll begin forearm plank from Sphinx pose. So you want to come down, your hips are on the floor, your forearms are on the floor, your elbows are right underneath your shoulders, right? And then point your toes down into the floor like this so the heels are up off the ground. Look straight down at that space in between the forearms, and then bring yourself up here into forearm plank. When you get here, tighten up your thighs, tighten up your abdominals, and then press your wrists down into the floor and breathe. And then release. So if you can do that for 5 or 10 seconds, you work up to 15 seconds. If you can do it for 15 seconds, you work up to a half a minute. You can do a half a minute, work up to a minute. You can do it for a minute, you'll be doing side plank in no time. So there are a couple of variations on this. Roll over onto your left side now, and place your left forearm so it's parallel with the short end of your mat. Straighten out your legs. Stack your right foot on top of your left foot. Bring your right hand to your right hip. And then look down, and then try to press your hips up, away from the floor. So this is a modification of, well, it's a variation of full side plank because you've got your elbow and forearm on the floor instead of that arm being straight, right? So I'm pushing my hips up, away from the floor, breathing. And then we'll come down. And then we'll switch sides so the right forearm is parallel to the front of the mat, legs are straight. Left hand to left hip, look down, try to press the hips up, away from the floor. Breathing, breathing, breathing. And then you're going to release. And you can come back into child's pose, or you can sit back towards your heels again. And we'll just take a couple of breath break before we try it again. Yeah, we'll try it again. I mean, why just do it once? Let's do it twice. All right. So we'll come back here. Forearms and elbows on the floor. Hips are on the floor. Point the toes down into the floor so the heels are elevated. Look down. Press up into forearm plank. So this time I'm going to press my forearms into the floor and my wrists into the floor. Tighten up the thighs. Tighten up the glutes. Tighten up the abdominals. And breathe. From here I might be able to go right over into that left side. So the left forearm's parallel to the floor. I come into the side version here. Good. And then maybe come back into the original version here. Good. And then right forearm parallel with the short end of the mat. Now we're on the opposite side. Hips are pressing up away from the floor. And then finally back into that original version. And from here, tighten up the thighs. And without moving your elbows, try to drag your elbows towards your feet. and then release and relax. Just bring your hands underneath your forehead and relax for a moment. So go ahead and come up onto the hands and knees, and we'll take a look at what's next. The next pose kind of fits nicely in with the last 2 or 3 things we've been doing, and it's called dolphin. So dolphin is basically downward facing dog with your elbows on the floor. So I'm not sure why they call it dolphin, but I don't know. I'm not gonna say too much more about that. I think it's kind of silly. So forearms come to the floor here, and elbows, just like we did with forearm plank. And then you'll point the toes down into the floor here, and you'll come up into downward facing dog with the forearms on the floor. So you can straighten the legs and engage the thighs, and then press the wrists into the floor. And then you just try to push the forearms into the floor and get the head, watch this, a little bit closer to the feet. Now go ahead and come down to the knees and sit back toward the heels. So that's the first variation of that, is down dog with the forearms on the floor. We can take it a little bit further. Now if you have shoulder issues, right, whether or not you've had surgery on your shoulders or not, you probably want to skip this next one. Okay? So just do version A that we just did. This time, forearms come on the floor here. Hands can come toward each other. You'll come up into the down dog version here, and then from here I'd like you to keep your legs straight and your thighs engaged, and then you can just bring your gaze forward a little bit and move forward a little bit and then push back a little bit. So you're moving from down dog with the forearms on the floor almost into a forearm plank pose. And then go ahead and drop to the knees and sit back toward the heels. You can take child's pose if you'd like. So where does it head next? Where do you think does it head next? I would say we could do one of 2 things. We could keep the forearms on the floor and perhaps elevate one of the legs. And then we'll try another variation where we do a down dog with one of the legs elevated. So let's look at the version with the forearms on the floor first. So you come back down, forearms are on the floor, come up into downward facing dog here, shorten your stance a little bit, and you're trying to draw your head back toward your feet, and then drop your gaze so it's in between your elbows, and then you might bring that right leg up in the air and breathe. Allow the left heel, watch the left heel, allow the left heel to relax toward the floor to gain the maximum stretch in the back of the left leg muscles. And then drop the right foot, left leg comes up. Try to keep both legs straight for the time being. The right heel is relaxing toward the floor. Press into your wrists, and then release and come down and relax. This time try to come into child's pose and bring the arms alongside the body and allow your shoulders to just drape down toward the floor and relax. And then go ahead and come up onto the hands and knees. So where would that variation come in handy, or where could we head with that variation, right? So we've got forearms on the floor and down dog, raising one leg up. That might be a good preparation for, it's called forearm stand, right? You've got your forearms here, and at some point come up into down dog. You might walk those toes forward a little bit more, and you have the leg up like this, right? And if you can get the shoulder strength built up so you're able to press down into those hands, you could practice this a little bit. You don't have to do this tonight, but this is just, we're always headed somewhere else with these poses, right? Shake out your hands, rotate your wrists a little bit. Now we'll try a more traditional variation of downward facing dog where the elbows are not on the floor and we'll also elevate one leg at a time. So that's called three-legged dog, I guess, right? So let's give that a shot. Hands and knees, palms pressed flat into the floor, toes down, and then come up and back into down dog. Just settle into down dog, and then straighten out the left leg, allow the left heel to relax toward the floor, and bring the right leg up. So here, I'm trying to get my head toward my left foot. Right? You don't want to be in the plank pose here, that's a little bit different, but this is going this way. And then you switch legs. Right foot comes down, left leg comes up. And then release, back down to the knees, and take a little bit of relaxation here. Good. You can roll your wrists around a little bit there. Good. So we'll take one more downward facing dog, and I'll show you one more thing in three-legged dog that we can work toward. So you might want to watch this first and let me demonstrate, and then we can try it together. Palms of the hands flat, toes down, come up into the down dog. And then I'm going to take my left heel and just move it over toward the right so I can get that left foot flat. So you adjust yourself that you can get the left foot flat there, even if you need to shorten your stance. So the left foot is at a 45-degree angle, similar to Warrior One. Then bring that right leg up in the air. And then release. Good. Then take the right heel over toward the left, so the right foot's at a 45-degree angle. And then elevate the left leg. And then release. And sink back into child's pose and relax. And then we'll come up onto the hands and knees. So let's come to seated next. Once we get to seated, take your right hand or right fingertips out to the right hand side, take the left hand to the right knee and thigh. Inhale and sit up, and exhale, twist and turn a little bit toward the right. And then come back through center and take that twist over toward the opposite side. And then back to center. Good. And then switch the legs. So if you've got your left foot in and your right foot out in front, go ahead and switch. And a little bit of a side stretch, so the right hand comes out to the right hand side, left arm comes up, inhale and lift. Exhale, lean out over toward the right side and breathe deep. And then release. Opposite side, lengthen up, lean over toward the left. And come up here. And then bring the legs out straight. And then we're just going to relax forward and down here. So you just place the hands on top of the legs, slide the hands forward as far as they're going to go, relax the chin down toward the chest. Inhale, look forward, Exhale, come up a little bit. Now take the soles of the feet together so the legs form a diamond shape. Slide your hands to the ankles. You can have the hands on top of the ankles, or you can slide the hands underneath the ankles. And what I'd like you to do here is drop your chin towards your chest and completely relax and breathe deep. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, we'll come up. We'll come to seated again. And sit up tall with the eyes closed. Focus your attention on your breath. Shift your awareness to your breath. So now you're watching the breath or following the breath as it moves into your body and as it moves out of your body. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, relax. And bring your hands together at your heart center. Open your eyes. And we'll say Namaste. Namaste, Namaste. I'm David Breen from Sharing Yoga and RealLiveYoga.com. I hope you enjoyed the practice this evening. It was my pleasure to practice along with you, and we'll see you next time. Let me show you how to do it. Put the mouse over this.